Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Most of these more philosophical type videos on my channel are born because of your questions under some of the other videos of mine, and in my Q&A video one person asked how do you know which fragrances are good quality and which fragrances are bad quality, or let's say which ones are better. In this case, first of all, I would like to establish there are two types of quality we can be talking about here. First type of quality is the quality of a blend. So basically here we're evaluating the quality of perfumer's work. Second type of quality we can be talking about is quality of materials. What type of materials were used, were they synthetic, how much natural materials were used, are they high grade or are they low grade. Same material can be produced in various different ways, and the way it was produced will determine how good of a quality it is. So to make this video structured, I will start with the quality of a blend. This one is harder and at the same time a little bit easier to perceive depending on your situation. What do I mean? For example, as a good quality blend, I chose Roja's Enigma. Very popular, mass appealing, high-end, niche fragrance. If you are new to the perfumery hobby, the first mistake or misunderstanding most people always seem to do, they think that the stronger the fragrance is, the longer lasting the fragrance is, that means it is of a better quality. For my personal opinion, that's absolutely not the case. Strong performing perfumes are achieved via materials mostly, not blend. The more synthetic musks, the more amber woods you put into a blend, chances are it will perform better. Also, there are quite a few very cheap materials, even natural materials, that possess a high performance, like vetiver, like oak moss, now regulated by IFRA, but it was not expensive. In my opinion, that is why it was banned, because oil companies, they want to sell their fixatives, they want to sell their synthetic musks, they want to sell their EOS Super, and stuff like that. So, if we take Roja, what does make this fragrance, for me personally, a high quality fragrance? Obviously, materials used here for a niche fragrance are also pretty good. We have our synthetics, of course, to boost the performance and all, but if you have ever smelled Enigma, you all know that main reason why people adore this scent is because it smells similar to cola. It has this sparkling cola vibe. There is no, let's say, raw material out there that would create this feeling. Therefore, it must be made by a perfumer. Ability to create an accord which represents something that is not actually in the bottle. For example, I'm pretty sure there's no Coca-Cola here. It's a skill of a perfumer. A professional, trained French perfumer can do that. Some accords, like with music, are easier to do. Some accords are harder to do. And we can give the same song to, let's say, 5 different guitar players, and the song will sound different depending on the skill level of a perfumer. Therefore, putting off this in a high enough quality is a pretty hard thing to do overall. Now, how do I recognize if the accord was performed right, if the blend is right? Here comes the hard part. The only way you can see that is basically through experience. When we are new at anything, whatever you do, if you're new, you tend to miss a lot of small details. And quality of most things are always hidden in the small details. Are there any harsh notes? Are there any off notes? Does something smell out of place? Does the composition flow from top to bottom? Do we smell some unfinished corners? I know these are very vague terms, but if you smell low quality perfume, one of 3 things will almost always happen. First, there will be a very too dominant note of some sort. If the blend is not balanced enough, something will always stand out. Of course, obviously, there are some fragrances that, for example, focus on vetiver. So obviously the vetiver will be the most noticeable note. But, there's always a but. In high quality vetivers, like Creed, original vetiver, like Thebes by Sultan Pasha, that vetiver note, it will be worked around. It will be crafted to hide its weaknesses and to elaborate on its strengths. If we are looking at a poorly constructed fragrance, you will get all the bad with all the good of the note. It is hard to recognize without experience, because to know what vetiver fragrance is bad, you first have to be experienced with what vetiver fragrance is good. So the reason why, for example, Lalique and Cran Noir is such a beloved perfume amongst the fragrance community is because with quite cheap materials at a very low price point, I think it's like 20-30 euros for 100 ml, I think. I don't remember, I don't have it anymore, but it is very cheap vetiver based scent. Perfumer managed to blend basically perfect fragrance. Therefore, if we would value the Lalique on materials, it would score not so well, let's say average. For the price, pretty good, average. But if we score it on a blend, it would score very high. Second thing that will happen if we take a very poor fragrance, it will most likely perform actually very well. Why? Because to hide your incompetence with fine details, perfumers often create strong accords with strong synthetics, because synthetics are easier to control than raw materials, and they make the composition more balanced. They make it perform well, obviously. And because, as I mentioned before, most people correlate strength and performance with good quality, if you actually don't know how to properly blend, just make the thing strong and people will like it. So yeah, it will be strong. And third thing you will notice in a poorly constructed fragrance it will have all its punch, all its excitement in the opening. Simply because when we go to the store and we want to buy something, we smell it for a few minutes, few seconds, and they want to sell you these few minutes or few seconds to make a spontaneous decision to buy it. So it will be very interesting and fun at the opening, but after we wear it for 15 minutes, let's say, the interesting and fun part will expire, and all you have is a very strong performing singular note of amberwoods or synthetic musks that are just some sweet projecting, silaging note that is not actually a composition or actually nothing interesting out there. And that note will stand out most of the time because there's no substance other than that in this perfume. So when I look at something like Roja Enigma or Creation E United States, this fragrance has excellent opening, but it evolves in the middle, it evolves in the dry down. Perfumer managed to create this interesting Coca-Cola note that is not otherwise seen in nature. Let's say there's no Coca-Cola growing on trees. The dry down, obviously, it has synthetic musks, it has benzoins, but it is still interesting. It retains some of its, let's say, interesting facets. It retains unicality. When you smell dry down of Roja Enigma, and you can watch my full review of this fragrance, it is not a singular amberwood or musk or something like that note. It's still a combination of something. It is not overpowering, and even though it is pretty long lasting, it never overstays its welcome. So Perfumer, he was not only concerned about first 10 minutes of perfume wowing you, although Enigma also does that. He was not concerned to make this fragrance long-lasting above else. It is still decently performing, but is not a beast mode or a powerhouse. When you smell this fragrance, there are no notes you can distinguish as leading or overpowering. Obviously, we can smell vanilla, we can smell benzoins, it's a gourmandish type scent. But none of these notes take center stage at any point of the composition, except maybe it's Maybelline, maybe vanilla and benzoins by the late dry down. But that's basically just a skin scent at that point, and obviously fragrance must die down sooner or later, and in general people like sweet scents, sweet aromas, so dry downing to vanilla and benzoin, it's a quite reasonable place where a good quality blend should end. So yeah, this will be the first part of this two-parter, a little bit of a shorter video because I want to concentrate on the latter. I want to concentrate on the second quality we are looking for in perfumes, is the quality of ingredients. In the second part I will be talking about raw ingredients, about difference in quality between them, and what I'm looking for to recognize which perfume is using a higher quality ingredients and which are maybe lesser, or the balance between the quality of ingredients, the price point, and how perfumer manages to combine these things. So if you're interested in that part of this discussion, please tune in my part 2. Thank you for watching this video. Have a good evening and goodbye.